Welcome to Holy Week Reflection number 5 and to Good Friday as we continue our walk to the cross with Jesus. This first Good Friday reading is from Luke chapter 21, verses 1 through 5, the beginning of Jesus' trial before Pontius Pilate. The whole assembly got up and led Jesus to Pilate and began to accuse him. They said, "We have found this man misleading our people, opposing the payment of taxes to Caesar and claiming that he is Christ, a king." Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "That's what you say." Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no legal basis for action against this man." But they objected strenuously, saying, "He agitates the people with his teaching throughout Judea, starting from Galilee and all the way here." So we've told the story in the last 24 hours from a table gathered with friends to a garden alone in prayer to arrest and the further distancing of a friend from Jesus. So tonight we begin the story of Good Friday. Often the story begins with the Garden of Gethsemane, but we told that story and the story of the Last Supper before it and his arrest and Peter's denial of Jesus yesterday. So we begin with Jesus' trial, the first piece, with him before Pontius Pilate. The people bring him to Pilate, the people of Jerusalem. Jesus' neighbors and his religious community bring him to Pilate, and they say he's opposing the payment of taxes to Caesar and claiming that he is a king. These first two objections against Jesus are political ones. He's resisting the people doing what Caesar has asked and claiming to rival Caesar by being a king, according to them. And these are the accusations they bring to Pilate, who is himself a political leader, not a faith leader. And so Pilate, hearing them, turns to Jesus, the accused, and says, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Asking Jesus if he does, in fact, believe these things that they have said. And Jesus responds, "That's what you say." The interesting thing about Jesus' words is he's saying that Pilate has accused him of these things when really Pilate hasn't at this point. And Pilate returns to the people and says, "I find no legal reason to keep this man in custody." Excuse me. And the people continue objecting that he has agitated the people and that his teachings are a problem. And that is a religious distinction. So what is it that they really are struggling with, these people who bring Jesus to be condemned? They use the language of politics to try and have him punished. But is that really the basis on which they bring him to trial? It strikes me that, as often happens when crowds of people shout out politically against other crowds of people, that what they're really saying is that they're afraid of that other person. However it is that that other person is different. In this case, I think that they're afraid that Jesus might bring the power of Rome down on all of them. Seems pretty clear from the way they've behaved and the things they object to. What are the things that we would object to? If Jesus were here in our midst, what are the things that would make us take him to trial? I can think of plenty of things for different people in our world that if Jesus showed up and was rabble-rousing and causing the religious people to go against religious law and telling people of faith that political law was not the most powerful things in their lives. I can think of lots of things in our world right now that might lead us to put him on trial. But what are those things for you? What things do you resist because you're afraid? What things do you get angry about other people doing or asking for because you don't know what kind of life they would lead to? It strikes me that that is a big part of why Jesus was so unpopular and why the people asked for his trial. It's not a just trial. He hasn't done anything against the law of Rome, and yet Pilate is being asked to punish him. So take a moment and contemplate what it is that might be those things in your life. Let us close this reflection time with prayer. Please pray with me. God of renewal and resurrection, we are tempted to shy away from this part of the story. We don't want to wait and hear the shouts of crucify him, or see the leaders choose to put him on trial. We definitely don't want to hear and bear witness to his walk up that hill and his death. But here we are, hearing that Pontius Pilate wants to let him go and hearing the crowd ask for his life. Here we are, shamed by their words, judging them even as we know that we probably would have been one of them. And if we weren't, we would be the absent disciple, scattered and too afraid to stand with him in this dark time. And we just don't want to think about it. Our days are dark enough. There is death enough in our lives. There are more than enough people unjustly imprisoned in our world. Do we really need to hear this story once again? Of course we do. Because this one is the one that will save us. This is the one whose life and death and holiness will conquer death itself. This is the one who loves us all, the one who suffered for us. And so we tell this hard story once again. Help us to remember those who suffer the same trials in our world that he faced on that day. Misunderstandings, unjust court systems, false imprisonment and lack of death, but also who face fear so much that they lash out at others, who face fear and run away from the ones they love, those who face death alone, who face death too soon, who face death at all. Be with them. Be with us. It seems so presumptuous to ask for your presence when they and we were not present for him in his trial. But we know the whole story, and so we know that we don't deserve to ask, but also that you answer when we ask anyway. Your love is miraculous. His journey is miraculous. So help us to tell the story, all of it, this night and on Sunday, and be with us as we walk through these days. Amen.